Two from four this championship. Scotland have just got the nice little trip to Paris to go. Can they be kingmakers for either Ireland or England? We'll find out on Super Saturday. Hello, amateurs, and welcome back to our Six Nations series here with you to the end of the championship and beyond. So hit subscribe down below to make sure you don't miss out on any future episodes. Scotland after that game against Wales where they dominated for the opening 15 minutes and then fell away somewhat in the last half an hour. Myself and Taff went through that with a fine-tooth comb. I'll link it up there for you. Go and check out that match review if you haven't seen it yet. Some lovely little points in there that we bring out. But today, I am going to be looking at what I think this Scotland team will be to face France this coming Saturday in the grand finale, the last game of this Six Nations Championship. And potentially, it'll be all to play for there, with France needing to get the win to confirm the championship in all likelihood. Okay, some squad updates for the Scottish team, and there's not been a lot of movement around the other squads, but there is some for the Scots. In come Jack Mann, Alexander Masibaka, who plays in Pro D2 in France. Carl Steyn is back recovering from an injury, and Adam Hastings has been brought back in as well. Back out to their clubs go Cameron Henderson, Aaron Reid, Cameron Redpath, and Rory Hutchinson. So a little bit of change around there for the Scots this week. Injury news. The one big doubt is captain. Rory Darge went off with a hip injury in the first half in that game last week against Wales. But Steve Tandy has said today that they're hopeful. It's just like a bang. It's just like an impact injury. And they reckon like 3 or 4 days it starts to settle down. And how he's going at the moment, it sounds like he'll probably be fit and available for selection. So I am going to assume that he is. Okay, overall, the Scots, they're just lethal against the Welsh. And if you look at this overall in terms of squad health and how they're feeling, you know, all in all, for a test match, you've got to say that that game probably wasn't the most onerous for them. They scored their tries fairly succinctly. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have to really grind for them. It was just like pass, break, score. They didn't have to go multi-phase too often in this game. And likewise, actually, when they're conceding scores at the end, that was all fairly straightforward as well. So I'd imagine the bodies, considering they played a test match last week, are as fresh as they could likely be. So with that in mind, and that almost like the thinness of the Scotland squad, you know, they don't go all that deep in certain positions, certainly. So I expect to have a fairly similar team out this week as last week, with, for me, in the forwards, just one change, and that is to bring Matt Fagerson back to the blindside jersey with Jamie Ritchie dropping to the bench. I just think against the French, you want the physicality. You want the biggest men that you've got on the pitch, and Ritchie's golden skill is the defensive breakdown. That's where he's really got a point of difference, and as we know, the French like to avoid rucks as much as possible. So it's a limit on, you know, the best use of his USP. So I just think that's a sensible option, assuming Darge is fit. If Darge isn't fit, then I'd imagine Ritchie will play 7 and everybody else will remain the same. The Scottish props last week, I thought, had their best outing of the championship so far, going up against the French this weekend. That's going to be big for those two, I think, in terms of Lions' hopes. If they can get a good showing against this monstrous French pack, that will stand them in good stead, and they'll have grown throughout the tournament, which I think that momentum really counts when it comes to selection as well for the Lions. I think you want to see players getting better as tournaments go on. If you see people go off like a flashbang at the start and then fade away, not great for a Lions tour, I don't think. Into the backs. And we are going to go with exactly the same. I think this back line is starting to sing again now, with Jordan just spending more time in that jersey. The world-class skills of Van der Merwe and Graham on the wings to create stuff, get them one-on-ones with a little bit of space, and they always draw in more than one defender and create space for other people. I'd say that's the biggest improvement in Van der Merwe's game, where he's actually putting other people into space now. A few years back, it just used to be giving the ball, let him run, and then when he stops, do whatever you do, you know, from the breakdown or whatever the situation is when he's finished. But now he can pass and put other people away as well. Notably, I think, was it the very first try or the second try for the Scots against the Welsh where he stepped outside me and got, I believe it was Hugh Jones down the outside to back inside to Jordan. Really good sort of creative play by Van der Merwe in that situation. Blair Kinghorn plays his club rugby in France. He'll be desperate for a huge performance for himself in this game, I'm sure. And again, for his Lions' hopes, he's another one who I think had a slow start to this competition, but has come on and is playing better and better as it's going through. Onto the bench, and apart from Richie swapping in, we are going to go exactly the same again. Yeah, I don't see any reason to change any of these players. I thought Horn was really lively off the bench against the Welsh. I mean, strangely, Scotland, I don't think scored while he was on the pitch, but he was really fizzing, I would say, with the way he played. Thought McDowell came on and brought a load of energy as well, and Carl Rowe is a quality player. So lots to come on from the Scottish bench, and they'll be needed, that's for sure. The big question mark is that those front five substitutes, are they going to be able to hold up the scrum and the tight play, the mauling? Because the French mauled a hell of a lot against the Irish, and I don't see why they wouldn't do the same here. Will those players be able to hold that up in the final echelons of this game if Scotland are still in it and with a chance to score, or the chance to win, excuse me? Talking about scoring, though, that was what I was going to move on to. I think if Scotland are going to have a chance in this game, they are going to need to score a lot of points. The thing is, with that, I think it just plays naturally into Scotland, how Scotland like to play anyway. They like to go out there. They like to express themselves. They like to move the ball around and use their best players, who are the wide backs. And you've got Finn Russell at 10 there, who's expert at getting people like that into the game. So I think this could be an absolutely thrilling game of rugby at the weekend. If Scotland are going to have any chance, they're going to have to get 4 tries minimum, probably a few more than that, depending on how the game goes and how well they defend. Whether the French end up having butterfingers again this week, you've got to say it's unlikely they'll do that twice in a tournament, but they might have some nerves. You never know. There would have been a huge build-up to their game last week against Ireland, and no matter how you cut it, you've got to look at this game and think it's going to be easier for the French than that Ireland away game was, and that can play tricks on the mind. The other thing we've got to see from this Scotland side, if they're going to have any chance, and it's the thing they struggle with the most, and that is to get an 80-minute performance out of this team, or if not 80, at least 65 plus, because Scotland, in all honesty, have struggled to get more than 40, 50 minutes on the pitch in any single game this championship and previously as well. So, yeah, commitment to score a lot of points, commitment to be in it for every minute of this test match, because you know the French are going to bring some magic and some brutality as well. And I think it could be an incredible finale to this year's Six Nations Championship. We shall see. Okay, guys, that's what I think. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think it's going to be another really consistent selection here from the Scots? Do you think there's any players outside of this 23 that should come in and add some freshness, that deserve their chance? Let me know in the comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up while you're down there if you don't mind. It helps other people find it. And you can subscribe there. You can watch that one next. And do not forget to get out and play. Cheers.